right, good morning, everybody. Everybody rolling this morning? Got the coffee going? Tell me where you're going. Tell me where you're headed this morning. Yeah, I'm interested to know where you're going. Let me see here. All right. Welcome back to the early morning Bubba. I ain't got no name for this thing yet. I just want to get out here and talk to all you construction professionals. Boy, I had a spaghetti mess this morning. Let me turn. Yeah, I'm trying to improve the stream, and I would like to put some background music into it, and it always ends up being a mess for me. I ain't figured it out yet, but I'll keep right on working at it and see if I can't one day have a little background music or some recordings. And I'm still learning all this stuff, so y'all get to watch me fumble through it. All right, good morning, fellas. Bubba here. It's Monday, and that means a fresh start, a strong cup of coffee, and a chance to get better than we were last week. You know, the thing is, we're supposed to get, it don't matter how much we know or how much we do or what our title is. The main emphasis is that we get better every day, every minute of every day. Always strive to be better. And in today's world, that's easy enough to do. Educational resources. And I'm not talking about spending a bunch of money. Now, there's some good trades. Yeah, y'all forgive me if I bump and jump. I'm on the satellite again. Boy, I liked last week when I was in the hotel. I didn't like being in the hotel room far away from home, but I did like being in the hotel room because they had good internet connection and the live stream went real well. But anyway, drop in where you're tuning from. Tell me where you're going, what trades you're wrapping. I'd like to know a little bit about you. Send me a message. I got the chat wide open this morning. And let's get this week started with some focus, some motivation, and a little bit of safety talk. You know, I'm a safety guy by, I guess, profession. And so I got to talk about it a little bit every morning. Boy, last month or so, I have had a wonderful experience with a bunch of guys in a place called Paradise, Kentucky. We were out there. I got asked to step in and help with some safety responsibilities, safety duties, and was a TVA power plant, and got out there and it's a decommissioned plant. It's been decommissioned for a number of years, but it's in the process of demolition. And so, you know, they asked me to come out there. Guy needed to go to another project. And so I said, sure. I like getting out there with the guys. I like the opportunity to visit with different people. And so I went out there, and I was there for, solid 4 weeks, I think, maybe 5 weeks. And worked with another contractor and a abatement contractor, and they were a super bunch of guys, highly motivated. You know, those abatement guys, they've got to be on their game. They've got to know they're tracking all kinds of qualifications and documentation and making sure the guys are properly trained and got all their training records. They're held to a slightly higher standard because you know, nobody needs to be breathing in that asbestos dust. or asbestos fibers, and that's their whole concentration is making sure that people don't breathe that stuff in. Anyway, they were on mark, top notch guys doing a good job, and had some, I call them scaffold monkeys, and I do that affectionately. Uh, and they were on the site supporting those asbestos workers with building uh, containments, or not containment, putting in scaffolding so they could reach you know uh, build containments around ductwork and things like that. They would scaffold it up so they could get in there and abate that ductwork. But they were a great group of guys too. Uh, anyway, this week I'd like to talk about, and this is something I talked about last week with these guys, and it was a 4-day series, and it was human performance. And I know that's a new catchphrase uh, in the safety industry, in the construction industry, um, and and I put together a small series on it so that we could have something that we could talk about every day, and and I thought I'd bring it with you. But and it was a good thing. And now there was a bunch of Hispanic guys there. Loved them, great workers, and they take to motivation well. They like to be a part of it. I guess it's that um, family nature. There's still a culture that has strong family ties. Now, I'm not casting shade at other folks, but theirs just seems to be a little bit stronger than some other cultures. And they were really, really good guys to work with. Um, Highly motivated. Uh, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So we were talking in terms of Middleclassbubba. Y'all hang on a minute. One of these days, I'm going to be almost an expert at this stuff. And I'm checking the string. Anyway, here we go. Let me turn that volume down. All right, boys and girls, give me a minute. All right. Okay, here we go. Anyway, it says my keyframes are off, and I'm going to keep right on going. Anyway, back to human performance. Uh, uh, you know, Safety isn't a checklist or a policy manual. It's human performance in action. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you look out for others, and the way you set the standard. Now, technically, there's a whole different uh, genre or phraseology for what human performance is, but in human performance, we know we're going to make mistakes. And we can train and train and train, but error-free performance is something that it just is impossible to achieve perfection. And so we have to always be prepared to train in things like awareness and recognition and things that help us look out for. It's our knowledge base that we carry in our head. And that knowledge base is the thing that helps us protect ourselves and others. But anyway, uh, think of it, kind of think of it this way. Safety is a way of life. And so many times they see the safety guy coming and everybody gets all nervous and starts acting in different and odd ways that they really don't. It's not necessary. Not if you're in pursuit of doing your job correctly, because then you're letting some outside influence interfere with your performance, and that should not be the case. Um, if you're unsure of a task uh, a procedure to ensure your safety, there's nothing wrong with stopping and saying, "Hey, uh, help me out, help me understand. I'd like to be able to do this a different way." Um, and there's no shame in that. Uh, hmm, 42 bitty. So don't let any of that stand in your way. Y'all, I'm still fooling around here. I'm just waiting on somebody to pop in here and say good morning to me. Yeah. All right. There we go. All right. I'm back with you here. I'm just doing a little housekeeping. But safety is a way of life. It's not something that you just when you hit the gate and clock in uh, and turn it on, and then when you leave at the end of the day you turn it off. That's not the way that it happens. Um, so keep that in mind. You take it home with you when your children are out playing. You don't want them doing risky things, and you look out for them. That's a safety-minded thing. Uh, if your wife is wanting to help in the shop, or y'all are building an addition to the house or doing some home improvements, you don't want her using a drill incorrectly where she could injure herself or do property damage. That's a safety culture. Uh, if your if your buddy's in the backyard and he's trying to put up a fence, and you see all his new tools, and he's a computer programmer by trade, uh, you see him getting a little wonky out there, you try to intervene, say, "Hey Joe, that's a that's a safety minded way. It's a safety way of life." And along with that, it's a leadership role. Safety is when you're on a job site and you got new guys coming into your project, and they you could tell that they're new guys and they may not have experience in the type of work you're doing, and look out for them. Uh, Stop them. Say, "Hey, let me give you some ideas on how to do this. You ever done? Ask with, "Hey, you ever done this kind of work before? Uh, let me give you some pointers." And they're willing to listen to that kind of stuff. Most of the guys I've ever known were, uh, sure enough, willing to do that. Let me see here. I'm still playing around with this stuff, and I know that it looks like I'm not paying any y'all any attention, but I am. I'm just trying to figure some stuff out. Switch key. All right. Y'all bear with me just another minute. Yeah. I don't know about all this stuff. I'm trying to do the best I know. And it ain't always easy being Bubba. It ain't 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 easy being Bubba. All right. Anyway, we out there doing it. It's a leadership role. It's something you can take to your people out there and jump in there. I had a this week I had a translator, and he took on the role real seriously. He came to me and he says, "Mr. Scott, can you talk to me about what we're going to be talking about today so I can go ahead and start thinking it out?" And I said, "Sure." And I did that for a day or two. Then I said, "Eloy, would you like me to put that in, print you out a copy in Spanish?" He goes, "Yes, please." And so I did that. And then he would still want to have a conversation with me because he was wanting to learn the English and the Spanish so he could understand the nuances. And so thereafter, I made a copy of English and a copy of Spanish for him for what we were going to be talking about that day, and then have conversation with him, for 5 minutes or so before we started the safety meeting. And that way he understood the concept of which we would be talking about, and he could deliver his message more effectively. And then I noticed that he was handing that paper around to some of the guys. So, that was he was taking on a leadership role. He was going, "Hey man, you want to learn some of this stuff too?" Whatever, how he says it in his language, And, and then when we did the stretch and flex, and I don't know if they did it regularly. When the first day I was there, you could tell they knew it was part of the process, and the enthusiasm level was somewhat lacking. And I didn't know whether it's because they'd been there so long and they're hearing the same message. Sometimes just a fresh breath of air, someone else leading the charge, can make a world of difference when you're having those early morning safety meetings. And so he took on that role, and whoa, I'm really running the clock here. And he and I could see that. And then with the stretch and flex, uh, it was kind of blah blah blah. And then even I did out there. I'm an old man, and then there were volunteers all of a sudden, guys who were volunteering. Had another guy my age came out there, and he outperformed me. And I wasn't embarrassed about it. The hell, he's more agile than I am. But anyway, I would laugh at myself, and they would laugh at me or with me. It doesn't matter. And that kind of always, kind of ignited some motivation. And then a younger guy would get in there, young chicken bouncing around, and I certainly couldn't keep up with him. And then I would do it again. And then we had that younger guy. We said, "Okay, you do it today. Tomorrow, you get to pick the next guy." So we kind of mixed it up. And that was part of the routine. And I told them, I said, these stretch and flexes, they're good for our mind, body, and spirits. And that's all of us breathing together and doing this together creates and unifies us into a more cohesive team that we could perform more and do our job in a more timely and effective and efficient manner. And they really started getting that stuff, and I was proud because you know when they're going, oh God, versus all right, let's get this going. And I'll tell you, when I first got there the first morning, it was like, good morning. They were like, everybody out of time. And I said, that's not going to work. That's not going to bring us together. So I made them do it again, and I went 1, 2, 3, good morning, and that helped them time themselves, and then they would go good morning, and so I did that for a few days. 1, 2, 3, good morning, and then it and they would try and have a shouting to see who could say it the loudest, and that was great. And then for a few days, we got to where we were just saying good morning, and they responded in an enthusiastic way. And so that's that was a wonderful part. Now, a couple of days they would on Monday mornings or Tuesday mornings, first day back to work, you could tell they were dragging in, and I'd tell them that ain't good enough, and I'd do the 1, 2, 3, and that would change their perspective of what was in front of them, and so it's those things that we do that motivate people and get them moving in the right direction in a safety mindset. And then, we talked about a way of life and then a lifestyle. And it's, we're building habits when we exercise a mindset, a safety mindset. We're starting to build habits that we carry with us, like I said before, everywhere. We take them home with us. We take them to the grocery store with us. We take them to a lot of places with us. And it's not that we're Mr. Safety Guy walking around. It's just that we're more aware of what's going on around us at all times. Human performance is the bridge between rules and reality. It's where safety becomes who we are and not just what we do. So keep that thought in mind. And the final thing on that before we move on is, people try to write down culture, how it is, how you need to behave. They write it down and write it on a piece of paper and then hand it out in some corporate meeting, and they think they've done their job. But performance is written in action. So guys in the field, and I keep talking to the guys in the field, that's where it starts at the top, but the guys in the field have got to exercise. You've got to exercise that stuff every day. Every day. And leadership, then you need to be in the field regular basis. Look them guys in the faces, smile at them, and tell them they're doing a good job. Somebody said it takes 5 good boys to one. You're not doing that right. So if you're going around all the time and you're saying that's a good job, you're doing a good job, when you say something and it's important, whether it's in the vein of productivity or safety or any kind of behavioral stuff, when you say, hey, they go, oh, he's right. Because if you're always promoting and then you have to make a correction, it has a more powerful impact. And they realize that, oh God, he's just not always walking around looking at bad stuff. It's he's seen something I need to correct, and they're more open to it when you walk around with a positive attitude and look them in the face and tell them they're doing a good job. All right, I might talk about that some more. I'm not real sure, but we need to move along. All right. Rules don't keep us safe. How we perform does. Keep that in mind too. Now, last week we did talk about ladder safety and, talked about proper setup and things like that. And I think we need to talk about it again. Ladder, ladder ladder use. Uh, but they really deserve another spotlight, and I want to give it to it this week. Ladder is one of the simplest tools on the site, but it's almost, but it's also one of the most dangerous when used wrong. There's focus on three things when you're using ladders: a smart setup, that 4-to-1 ratio. For every 4 foot up, make sure you come a foot away. Keep that forward. Make sure it's got solid footing, and tie off the top of that. Tie off the top of that ladder. Climb safe. Make sure you use 3 points of contact. Don't carry tools in your hand. I did have to call out one young man, and I know he was trying to be productive and all this, and he was climbing a scaffold ladder, and he had a bunch of stuff in one arm, and he was hopping, and it was dangerous. And well, actually, I didn't catch him. Another guy caught him, and we went and addressed it immediately. And Ray took the lead on that, and I'm glad he did. He spotted it, and we had a conversation with the guy, and then called a supervisor so that we could make sure there was good translation. And then we covered it in a safety meeting, so we were triple covering all that. And nobody was called out. We just took care of it and talked about how to properly get tools and stuff up a ladder. So a bucket and with a rope and things like that. And these guys were working, and it's a nightmare when you're trying to get bisqueen or plastic, and you're trying to get it up levels on the scaffolding, and it's a cramped space and blah blah blah. And it's better to take your time, get the proper tools, and do it properly than to risk your life. It's just not worth it. So climb safe, maintain 3 points contact, don't carry tools in your hand. Get a bucket and a rope or something. Stay alert when you're on a ladder. Don't lean, don't stand on the top rung, and don't treat it like a scaffolding. Uh, Remember, most ladder accidents aren't from equipment failure; they're from misuse or lack of focus, using them wrong or not staying focused on what you're doing. While you're out there this week, I'd like to offer you a challenge. We know what it's like. It's Monday morning. We're dragging into work early, and heck, we're tired, we're distracted, we're frustrated. We didn't get everything we wanted to get done in the weekend, and everybody's tired and having to get the kids up to school, and the wife, she's tired too from getting there, and that's when mistakes creep in. A strong crew just doesn't look out for hazard. They look out for each other's performance. Encourage your partner, your coworker, to slow down, to use their PPE, and to think before they act. Great teams don't just build projects, they build each other up. And we talked about that earlier in the human performance aspect. To keep your men and your people motivated. And it's amazing. I promise you, it's amazing the difference in it makes in the workforce. And I had some of the guys with that asbestos company saying, we're really moving along. We're really doing a good job. And it's because I believe that in my short duration, now it's hard to do that over the long term, and that's where leadership really comes in. That you can pass the mantle and know that somebody in your team is motivated at all times, and they can help bring up the motivation. Even as a leader, sometimes, man, it beats you down and you're wore out, and then your subordinates recognize it and they go, "You okay? Can we do anything?" Laugh and joke with you and get your attitude adjusted, and there you go. You're back on track, and that's how we get each other motivating along. Make sure y'all stay hydrated. I'm going to talk a little bit about cold weather. Cold weather is coming upon us, but hydration is a key element in your work life, your mental acuity. Proper hydration, proper nutrition keeps your game on, so to say. So, anyway, hey, I need to save this for my grandson. This is a good joke. Why don't ladders ever get invited to parties? Because they're always bringing people down. That is funny in an unfunny kind of way. I don't. What do you call a roofer who can't keep focus? He's a shingle-minded worker. Hey, if you got a better idea, I am more than willing to. I'm more than willing to take your recommendations. So, y'all send in your jokes. I like construct. Keep them clean. I'm trying to make it a family channel now. I can try and clean them up. If y'all send in something that's kind of funny and a little off color, I could try and clean it up. We had a guy set up a ladder and sitting on a pile of scrap and all kinds of stuff, and he said, it's fine, it'll hold fine. Now, he didn't fall, but that whole ladder slowly slid until he had to jump off halfway. The foreman, he handled it well. He said, he didn't even yell. He just handed him a broom and said, "Start with housekeeping next time." And everybody had a good laugh at the old boy, and the point stuck. Keep good housekeeping. Last week, we talked about focus and ladder setup, and a couple guys commented that the hardest part is keeping others accountable without sounding like you're nagging at them. I've seen that, a young guy, new hire, and he comes from a background where safety or housekeeping or stuff like that wasn't as had that high of a priority. And you ask him, "Why'd you quit?" "Well, they just didn't. They want, all this stuff." And he had those habits. Throwing stuff down, leaving water bottles everywhere, screw it, somebody else will clean it up. That's what those guys are for, all that kind of crazy stuff. And however, when he comes into the crew and it's a highly motivated and they're doing the right things and they do their housekeeping and they pay attention, doing their PTPs and paying attention and managing themselves well. He wants to fit in, and he will. He will fit in, or the team. You know, as a manager, as a safety guy, there's been lots of times where uh, they came to me and said, "This guy, he's not, he won't." And I'd say, "Well, are we working with him?" "Yeah, and he's just hard headed." And sometimes, you try and counseling, maybe move him to another team. Maybe it's not the right mix, but eventually, if he's not performing in a safe, timely, and efficient manner like the rest of the crew, they don't want him dragging them down, and they will self monitor the entire team's behavior. And there's been a few instances in my career where that two teams, same comments, and all of a sudden it was a no-go, and we had no place for that guy. He just wasn't a fit in the team, and you have to start the documentation process. Listen, you don't want anybody jeopardizing the health and well-being of others on your team. You don't want that, and it should be unacceptable. And if that individual doesn't want to play ball with you, then we don't need him. We that's plain and simple. And it's not. I don't want to make that kind of call, but it has to be a response of the team as a whole, not as a safety manager who looks at a guy and goes, I don't know if that guy's going. I don't do that. You make that call. You do it. I'm there to help you. I'm there to move it along for you. But don't look at me to do it. You got to do it. I'll do the process, the paperwork, but you got to make those decisions. If the guy ain't working out, the guy ain't working out. So, how do we do it without sounding like we're nagging? Well, my take is keep it simple, keep it respectful. A quick word saves a lifetime of regret. Uh, People listen more when you talk to them and not at them. So have the conversation with the guy who's not performing up to the crew standards or the company standards. Bring him along and let him know he's important to the effort, and his effort has to be safety conscious and production conscious and all that stuff. Now, it's just now at the end of September. We're fixing to come into October on Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know, whatever the day is. But winter is coming, so let's start keeping that in mind. In the transition periods, uh, I keep a rain jacket wadded up under the back seat of my pickup truck. And now I started carrying a lightweight jacket in the truck in case we get them cool mornings. So start thinking about that cold weather. It's coming on us, and you know, uh, dress in layers. Like I say, I have that rain jacket, and if it's cold and rainy, then I'll use that to keep in some body heat. And if it's just a little on a chilly morning, and I start getting chilly about probably low to mid 50s. I'm like, it's getting a little cool out here because I'm not acclimated. And so I put the jacket on, and if we continue in that weather pattern for 2 or 3 days, before long, I can handle the low to mid 50s pretty well. And then when it gets down into the mid to upper 40s, then I'll put the jacket back on till I acclimate and just carry on. And with cold weather, you wanna layer up. Uh, Me, I'm kind of guy who wears t-shirt, and then I wear this outer shirt, and then I throw on a jacket, and then I've got 3 layers on, three light layers, and as the day warms up, like I talked about, I can shed one of them, And I'll occasionally take off my outer shirt if I got a wrench on something. I don't want to mess up a good shirt and give my wife fits. But as winter keeps going, there's some things to uh, keep in mind. Uh, Remember to layer up and be smart about it. And the base layer, and I'm bad about it. I wear a cotton t-shirt, but it really should be something that wicks away moisture, because you get the sweating and cotton will hold the moisture. It should be something kind of nylon. These guys wear the Under Armours, and that's good stuff. It wicks away. And then the mid layer should be some type of insulating flannel. I use a lot of flannel shirts. They're good insulators, and they're cotton, but they're good insulators. And then I do have some wool shirts, and I really like wearing some a good wool shirt. If they're expensive, and you can find them in the thrift store, if you're working, there's no sense in buying brand new stuff when you could buy slightly used stuff at the thrift store at a significant discount, and pick up a sweater, a wool sweater, or any kind of wool is really good because it wicks away water. And but you could use an acrylic or a blend of acrylic and wool, and then you put on the outer layer, and that's for weather protection, keep the wind off. And that light jacket that I was just talking about is actually a combination of a windbreaker, and it's slightly waterproof. It'll get wet after a while, but it'll hold up in a drizzle or slightly damp conditions. And I'll use that as the outer a lot of times. And but anyway, the point is layer up. Just use a lot of layering systems. And the other thing is I like to use is a scarf. Uh, I've got my wife knitted me a scarf, and I've got that, and I've got an old army wool scarf. They're short, but it's more of a neck wrap, and I'll tuck it in the shirt to keep the back of the neck, because 80% of your body heat actually escapes from your neck and head when it's cold out there. So the old saying, if your feet are cold, put a hat on. That does make sense, and it works well. So uh, don't forget the old cold weather's coming upon us. Don't keep it in mind, and don't forget uh, cold weather eats. Don't forget cold weather eats gloves, boots, and respirators faster than summer. Keep gear dry, store it inside when you can, and rotate extras. If you keep a pair of extra socks, man, you've been on the muddy sites. Yeah, your feet get wet, you got a hole in your boot, and you've had these boots for a while, and you know you need a new pair. I did that the other day. I stepped out of the truck right into a darn puddle. I said, "Dadgummit," and I could feel that water just rush in on my feet. And so I'm due a new pair of boots. Y'all tell me what kind of boots. What kind of boots do y'all like? I need a new pair of boots, and I'd like to buy American, but doggone, man, the prices on those American made boots are crazy. I want to be a good American. Uh, but anyway, what kind of boots do y'all wear? Let me know. I've looked at Thoroughgoods and Red Wings, Wolverine, Georgia boot, Carolina boot. And they're all. I guess I haven't bought any boots in probably 4 or 5 years now. Man, whew, man. Anyway, tell me what kind of boots y'all wear. Got a quote here by Mr. Ralph Marston, and I know that name, and I can't place him. And Pluriforia gave me this word of encouragement. She's helping me do my research. Oh, hillbilly Pluriforia. I just need to, if I could somehow show y'all a picture of her, I would. I'd have to add a picture here. Let me see what I can do. Image. Okay. Y'all still with me? I'm trying to find her. Browse. Pictures. Hang on, I'm gonna show you my assistant here. My old digital. That didn't work out. Well, all right. I just have to see if I can show y'all another way. I don't know how to do it, but Pyrophoria. She's not wanting to be on. I don't guess she wants to be on this. Oh, here she goes. Oh. Well, she didn't show up. Oh, well. Anyway, we'll move along. Anyway, we were talking about performance and encouragement, but this Ralph Marston says excellence is not a skill, it's an attitude. Excellence is not a skill, it's an attitude. The same way with safety. And attitude spreads on a crew, good or bad. Choose to spread the good. I don't know what happened. Y'all excuse me. Wow. Oh, really? All right. Uh-oh. Y'all show me where you're going, what you're doing today. I want to know. You a steel hanger, a pipe fitter? Oh, man. Shoot. That breaks my heart. Anyway. Anyway. I'll go back and find it, though. All right. Let's talk about what's coming up this week. You know, we've talked about pinch points and this is on the Middleclassbubba, the safety channel. And if you're a supervisor, you're a manager, or your guy is just out there in the field and wants some safety topics, I have another channel. It's Middle Class with a space and then Bubba. And I probably got a couple hundred. I know I got more than that. I got hundreds of videos, hundreds of safety topics, and I put out a new one every week. And last week I think we covered ladders, and before that pinch points. And this week, like we just talked about a minute ago, we'll be kicking off cold weather hazards, how to prepare for dropping temps, slippery conditions, and the frostbite risk. Now, let's not wait till it's freezing. Let's start thinking about it now, keeping that jacket in the truck. How to manage ourselves properly when we get cold. You know, I'm grateful for all you guys out there, even though I've had a couple views this morning. I appreciate it. But if you watch this later on, you're still part of the family. If you catch this on a, because this live stream will be recorded and it'll be posted on the website. And if y'all catch, I'm not on the website, on the YouTube channel. And if you catch this later on, you're still part of the family. You can send comments as you watch it, and give me, if you have any kind of questions, just let me know. But I am grateful for the people who push others to do better, and that's what I really try to do. I try to push others to always perform better than they did before. And I'm not talking about screaming and yelling at people, but by setting the example and being encouraging, letting them know that they can do well, that they have an opportunity. And I do this all the time. I tell them, I said, this odds are this is not going to be your final destination in your life, that you're going to have ample opportunities in your life. You're going to meet and greet with all kinds of people. You're going to have opportunities to learn, opportunities to exercise your leadership skills that you're developing every day. Don't let anybody tell you you're just a working grunt. You are not that. You're somebody special. You're out here, you have life, and you have a multitude of capabilities, and you'll gain more as you mature in your life's endeavors. So encourage others around you to do well, and in that process, you yourself will strive to do better, because you don't want to be a hypocrite. And I know we've all seen them. Those guys who think they know more than they really do. And someone once told me that when somebody's telling you how much they know, listen real carefully, because they're also telling you how much they don't know. So be encouraging, because if you're encouraging and you make a mistake and they say, well, wait a minute, and you listen, you might find out that they know a little something too. So I'm grateful for people who do that. I've had men in my life who have pushed me to do better, and gave me challenges, and man, I worked like a fool because I respected them, and I knew that they needed their task done, but they also had the human side, that they put me in a position of trust, and I daggum sure wasn't going to let them down. So keep that kind of stuff in mind as you go through your life. And this week, make sure that we focus on ladders and encouraging, and start talking about people get them ready for cold weather. It's going to get cold. Yes, sir. It's going to get cold on us. Ain't no doubt about that. So that's our start for the week. Make sure you look out for yourselves and look out for others. Remember, rules don't keep us safe. How we perform does. Every task is a reflection of human performance. It's built in the performance of every person every day. You know, they say human performance is all about focus, which is why I never let my buddy Joe hold the ladder. His focus is about as long as his coffee. And human performance is simple. Don't text while running a cutoff saw. Don't daydream on scaffolding. And don't trust the guy who says it looks good enough. Yeah, experts say human performance depends on hydration, sleep, and nutrition. But we all know the crew runs on coffee, beef jerky, and stubbornness. Ain't that the God's awful truth? Yeah, here's the one. Human performance is great until Monday morning reminds you you're still human. All right, boys and girls, we've had a wonderful time this morning. I have. Could occupy an hour of space and time here, spewing sometimes wisdom, sometimes meaningless gibbly-got, or what do they call it? Gibberish, googly-got, whatever. I try to be an expert at that. Remember, if you have any kind of leadership question, you have some challenges in front of you, and you need a place to turn to, I'm here. If you need something, send me a message send me a comment and say, hey Scott, what about this? I've got a good bunch of guys, but we seem to be having trouble with this, that, or the other. Send me a message. We'll get it worked out. We'll figure out a way. You know, your team is a reflection of you, and how they behave is a direct reflection on how you behave. Keep that kind of thing in mind. And if you're new in the business or new in trying to be a leader, a supervisor, nothing wrong with that either. You don't know everything. And there's nothing wrong with going to your guys. Listen, I don't know. Let me figure that out, and I'll get back with you, and you go figure it out. Go on to YouTube, send me a message, and I'll try to get back with people as quickly as I can if they have a question. If you need a toolbox talk on a specific subject, let me know. I probably got one made up. I can forward it to you and show you where you can find it. And we'll get you squared away. If you're just new in the you're a young man just stepping out of trade school or even out of high school, getting started in the construction trades, and you have a challenge and you want to know how to impress your boss or how to do things right, and looking for some guidance, send me a message. That's what I like to be here for. I want to see everybody successful. I want to see you successful. And I'll do whatever it takes as long as I have to get you moving in, put you in the right track and get you moving down the road, and to motivate you when you get a little bit discouraged. It gets hard sometimes. It does. And it's supposed to be hard because you're growing, you're learning, you're outside your comfort zone. And that's where you pick up that knowledge, training, and experience that takes you further down the road in your career as a leader. All right, boys and girls, I've certainly had a good time with you this morning, but it's 6 o'clock and it's time for me to bid adieu. Until we see each other next time, as always, look out for yourself, 'cause you're number one. Look out for your co-workers and help ensure their safety. And most importantly, have a grateful day.